Everybody, welcome back to the RocaNews show. We have a big news day for you today. And we also, guess what? We have a new segment we're going to try out. And I think OG podcast listeners will recognize the segment. It's Frost Trivia. Give him a couple trivia questions, see how he does. But first, we're going to get right into the big news of today, all the way building up to the Jimmy Kimmel story. And it kicks off with Nvidia investing in its rival Intel. So let's get this business story out of the way. Frost, what is happening with Intel?
All right. So Nvidia just agreed to take a 4% stake in Intel. Now, Nvidia and Intel are traditionally rivals, although Intel's become a little bit, it's essentially failed in recent years and has fallen way behind. So Intel was once America's best chip company, and today it's struggling, and for a while people thought it might even go bankrupt. But Nvidia, which is the world's leading chip designer, they do not make chips, just struck a deal to put $5 billion in Intel. Intel makes chips in America, which is very important for U.S. strategy right now. And this comes right after the U.S. government just became, I believe, the largest shareholder in Intel, right? Was that part of this deal? So now you had the U.S. government become Intel's largest shareholder last month. Now Nvidia is becoming one of the other largest shareholders. So a lot of interesting stuff to unpack here.
Yeah, it does seem to be a little sketchy. Certainly worth a closer look, where the government takes out a huge stake in a company, and then you have Nvidia take out extremely large. These companies are massive. So, you might hear 10% and 4% and not go, holy shit. But these are big, big numbers. And of course, some would argue, well, the U.S. government should take a stake in it. Look at TSMC, that I believe is a state-run company, or at least the state has a huge.
It was created by the state.
Okay.
Its relationship. So for context, TSMC is by far they make the chips that are powering most of the technology that we're getting today. Nvidia will design the chips. TSMC will make them. TSMC, that's Taiwan Semiconductor. That's a Taiwan chip company. But a lot of the U.S. and a lot of companies are a bit wary about that because it's their most advanced fabs, chip plants are in Taiwan. So that obviously creates risks, and people want to hedge against that, which could be why Nvidia just took out the stake in Intel. And I want to read a quote here. So this is from Jensen Huang, Nvidia's CEO. He said, quote, "This historic collaboration tightly couples Nvidia's AI and accelerated computing stack with Intel's CPUs." So essentially they're saying they're taking Nvidia technology, Intel technology, and merge it to push the companies forward. Now, a fun fact about Jensen Huang, did you know he went to boarding school in rural Kentucky?
No.
We were in the absolute middle of nowhere. The middle of nowhere. And we talked to this woman, and she said she was a teacher at a nearby school. One of the most remote places I've ever been in my life. Jensen Huang is their benefactor at the school. And when he came from Taiwan to America, that's where he went to school.
That is wild.
It's a school for troubled youth, too. They didn't know that they were sending him.
I was going to ask, is it like some prestigious kind of under the ground?
No.
Oh, my goodness. No. Dude, that's incredible. I remember also you sent the piece, I think, of his interview, basically saying if he knew how hard it would have been to build Nvidia, even though he's one of the richest people on planet Earth right now, he wouldn't have done it. So he's kind of talking about like the beauty or the way entrepreneurship works, and you sort of get talked into this track and you keep going, is there's always that carrot dangling in front of you, and you endure a lot of hardship chasing that carrot. And anyways, I thought that was fascinating. He's an interesting guy.
Yes.
And I guess, we talked to a senior official from the CHIPS Act under the Biden administration who basically explained that the U.S. becoming a power in semiconductor chip production will have enormous benefits, both in terms of our national security and economic interest. So to that point, that's probably that is how the Trump administration has justified that. So anyways, I guess there's some case for it, but it does feel very close in terms of that recent stake and now Nvidia adding on to it.
It's also, I think, just worth noting that Nvidia has become, one of the most strategically important companies on Earth. And I think just yesterday, the FT reported that China's cracking down on Chinese companies' ability to buy Nvidia chips because they want to create their own Nvidia. Essentially, they want to incentivize their companies to design better chips. So, yeah, I think in the months ahead, and especially if something goes on with Taiwan in the coming years, this will definitely be I mean, this could be a major story that plays out.
Well, let's talk about another major story. How about this organization that Trump has called a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster? That organization is, of course, it's not PETA, it's Antifa. So Antifa, which stands for anti-fascist, is an organization that's decentralized. It's a sort of a political movement. I mean, we've encountered them on the road, both at the DNC protests in Chicago last summer, but also in various protests across the country. We were at BLM protests, and basically they fight fascism is their goal, but they've also been tied to much violence. They've committed a ton of violence. We've seen that firsthand in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Yep. They overtook sections of Seattle during CHOP or Chaz.
Which one was CHOP? Which one was Chaz?
I think they were connected. I think Chaz something autonomous zone, and
CHOP was Seattle. Chaz is Portland.
That was it. I know. I think they were both. I think. Or no. You're right.
Or no.
I think they're both Seattle. I could be wrong, and they just were slightly different acronyms.
Things were simpler back then.
Yeah, they really were. But essentially, Trump has designated them a terrorist organization. And so that'll basically allow the government to up its attack against them. And again, to be clear, Antifa has committed numerous violent assaults on cities, on businesses, on people. And that's why Trump's designated them as a major terrorist organization. Although I think some would argue that they are a small threat compared to other organizations. Frost, what's your take or any extra insight?
Two thoughts. One is it's also unclear what this actually means. Just for clarity here. I mean, they're a domestic group, and Antifa is not. It's not like Al Qaeda, right? Like it's not like there's like a hierarchy and whatever. Antifa is a super fluid organization. People ranging from kind of like wannabes on college campuses to like real hardened criminals are members of Antifa. So actually, our writer Max Hudgens recently interviewed an Antifa member, and what he stressed was it's amorphous. There's no hierarchy, and it really depends. But generally speaking, it's a group of people who believe that violence is justified in countering far right politics. And so one thing here, it's really not certain. So back in 2020, Trump tried to do the same thing. His then FBI, I believe it was his then FBI director, testified that Antifa was more an ideology than an organization. So it's unclear what it means here, right? It's not like you can find like the mission statement of Antifa and go after that. I think the thing that might be more, potentially notable about this is he says he wants to go after the people who are funding it. And Trump has in the past talked about Soros and other kind of left-wing funders, people funding protests, whatever he says. Doing air quotes on that for the listeners. So the question is, what are they going to do here? And because again, it's not like you could cut a check to Antifa. I don't think anyone really understands exactly what it is beyond the kind of amorphous people who don black masks and go out and like heckle or attack right wingers.
And so, for contrast, an organization that is more centralized, let's say the Proud Boys,
yes,
which has a designated leader. And so, again, to your point, it's like, how would you dismantle Antifa? And even if you say who funds it, it might just be one aspect of it or one local chapter, even though there's no formal chapter system. So anyway, that's super interesting.
There's also so this obviously comes after the Charlie Kirk killing. There's nothing that's like linked yet, the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk, with like an organization, to my knowledge. Now, he did write on the bullet casings, "Hey fascists, catch," and lyrics from Bella Ciao, which is an old Italian Antifa, anti-fascist song. But it is worth noting, we went to Kenosha a few years ago, and we interviewed people there who had their or I think it was last summer, interviewing people there who had their stores looted and burned in the riots. They did talk about Antifa coming in. They said it was like it changed like that. They said it was protests, and then all of a sudden these people came in heavily armed with trucks. They were breaking in, stealing ATMs. They described it as being done with military precision. Honestly, we should find some of those clips and we could play them for a different show. But I don't think we ever made the video about Kenosha.
And you might wonder what that looks like. an example of that would be, so there were protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and over police violence and police brutality and a local killing.
I don't think they killed him. Jacob Blake. They shot him.
They shot him. Oh, right. He survived. My apologies. Yes, you're right. Thank you for introducing facts and context to the show. Really appreciate it. But and we talked to one person who she owned a business owner, and she owned a auto repair shop, and she recalled that it was basically pretty much peaceful, some minor looting or this or that, or I think almost entirely peaceful. And then all of a sudden, in a military-like operation, as you described, they smashed her windows and they dragged out just very heavy equipment that she had, totally vandalized her business, and boom. So it clearly has some level of foreplanning and some resources at its disposal. So very interesting to see how this unfolds and whether it's more just noise and kind of red meat for the base, or if he actually targets them and starts to dismantle the decentralized organization. Okay, there's that. We're going to save Kimmel for last, but we should note that right now, President Trump is in the UK, or he just concluded his visit to the UK. There have been some amazing pictures that have come out of this, him wolfing down spaghetti with King Charles overlooking his shoulder, him giving a smirk to Kate Middleton, and he clearly, some people have pointed out his inspiring story of in 11 months going from being a McDonald's worker to now dining with British royalty. So it has been an impressive turnaround for Trump. But they've had a couple interesting exchanges that are more substantive, including one on a Palestinian state with Trump saying, I have a disagreement with the prime minister on the score. That is, of course, recognizing the Palestinian state. One of our few disagreements, actually. And then later, when Starmer denounced Hamas as a terror organization, Trump patted him on the back. And so they're having that summit. Any other notable findings or news stories from that?
Yeah, so Trump kind of got in his feels about Vladimir Putin, saying, quote, he's let me down. He's really let me down. Billy, can you add a comma after the word saying in that? That's good. We're just editing live here. And then perhaps the most interesting one was this free speech issue. So obviously in the UK, after the arrest of Graham Linehan, the comic, the arrest of 900 pro-Palestine protesters, and then the arrest of, or this massive hundreds of thousands of people protesting in London last weekend, free speech is a major issue in the UK right now. Trump said the recent police actions were, quote, sad and, quote, not a good thing. Starmer kind of avoided really talking about this. One thing that's funny, although Starmer and Trump's politics are pretty much diametrically opposed, Trump seems to like him.
I know.
And in all of these different dealings, from the trade stuff, which I think the UK actually kind of conceded quite a lot to Trump and probably to curry favor, but just repeatedly when they've interacted, it seemed kind of like Trump has a soft spot for Starmer, which is just interesting. And it's interesting. One thing I read yesterday or the day before is that Trump was going to go easy on him because he knows that Starmer's been having a tough time. One reason why, he just had to fire the ambassador to the U.S. because of his Epstein ties.
Oh, wow.
So the UK's ambassador to the U.S. wrote a letter in the book that Trump wrote.
Oh,
the
my
letter,
goodness.
allegedly.
Yes.
And yeah, apparently Trump wants to go easy on him for that reason, is what I read somewhere. So
he does seem to have a soft spot. He also, as you may recall, he's always spoken extremely highly, even though he's at some points broken with decorum of interacting with royals. He has spoke very, very highly of Queen Elizabeth. I mean, he's it's part of like his whole traditionalist instincts. As much as he's been like a bull in a china shop, like he loves the Yankees, he loves old school New York. His favorite part is Midtown. He likes the British Royals. He likes classic movies. He'll talk about Gone with the Wind and Casablanca. Like Trump does have a soft spot for old institutions, and you're right, he does have a soft spot for Starmer, comparing him with, say, Justin Trudeau, for whom he does not have such a soft spot,
or Macron. Every time he sees Macron, he tries to big dog him in some way, put the hand on the shoulder or whatever.
Yes.
I see Billy chuckling at that back there, but
it's like Billy with me. He always puts his hand on my shoulder.
I would love to big dog Macron.
All right, Billy, are we missing anything? I got any questions, any thoughts?
Does the firing of, or rather, does the soft spot that Trump has for the Epstein firing, what do you make of that? Because obviously there's been a lot of accusations towards Trump of, his involvement with the Epstein stuff. And if that's causing a soft spot, like, is that of any interest? Is that kind of just like he's going through, Starmer's going through these issues? What's your read on that?
I think it's either that I think Trump might think it's just politics and bullshit, and he thinks everyone's getting kind of caught up in it. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I think that he's very aware of that this Epstein debacle has really been a gut punch for his base. I mean, he loves his poll numbers. And so I almost can't help but wonder if a lot of what he's done right now is just him. For example, the Kimmel story, which we're about to get to, is just another thing to distract from Epstein and just change the news cycle, which he succeeded on. And so I think that this could also be, like, he wants to minimize as much of that story as he possibly can. So, yeah, I mean, there was also a tweet of someone talking about how if he ran into Prince Andrew, he'd be like, "Where do I know you from?" Just him with Prince Andrew. Obviously unconfirmed before we get taken off the air. But, all right, let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel. Billy, if you could you find that clip? Okay, that's the old one. This one right here. So Jimmy Kimmel has been suspended from ABC. At first, Nexstar, which owns a ton of local TV stations and a bunch of ABC affiliates, it said, we're taking this dude off air. And then ABC said, you're indefinitely suspended. Why is he indefinitely suspended? All eyes are on this clip right here.
Over the weekend, with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction.
That's a good. All right, that's a pretty good line. He's at the four, but the opening line is what he's in trouble for. He basically said MAGA's been tirelessly working to convince the world that Tyler Robinson, wasn't one of them. Now, to be clear, the text I don't believe had been published by the time he said it, but there had been overwhelming evidence suggesting that Tyler Robinson wasn't one of them politically, and nobody on MAGA's side. I think more evidence of that is that nobody on MAGA's side was saying he wasn't from a Republican family. They were saying that he's a leftist who, with these bullet inscriptions, and now more recently the released texts, and then all the furry ties and the transgender lover.
He's a furry?
There have been some furry kinks exposed. I think he had an interest in furries, according to some of his internet activity. I think Billy's our furry correspondent, if he has any extra insight there.
I thought that was Frost.
I get him mixed up.
If being a furry makes you Antifa, then put me on the terror list. No. Okay.
I missed that line. But yeah, so yeah, Frost, I mean, that's what he's catching heat for. Now, people are in a frenzy over this because they think it's the most, and to quote Chris Hayes, MSNBC host, he said this is the greatest assault on First Amendment ever. Greatest example of like state-sponsored First Amendment violation in history.
Well, and look, can you give some context as to why they're linking this to the government?
Yes. So the reason people believe this is Trump, okay, people believe that ABC and Nexstar didn't do this for their own ethical reasons. They believe they did it from pressure coming from the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, who is a very political type. Like he was at the Heritage Foundation before this. he's actually spent a lot of time in D.C. He went to Georgetown, then he got his JD from Catholic University, and now he runs the FCC, which for context is the Federal Communications Commission. And he essentially is a very powerful person when it comes to Nexstar, which is that local TV station affiliate giant company, because they are trying to acquire the next biggest local TV station owner, which is Tegna. And now they are looking to buy them for $6 billion, but they need FCC approval because that would push them over the federal limit of owning 39% of local TV stations. So if you get over that limit, then all of a sudden you need FCC to raise the cap. And so that's what they're looking to do. So some people believe that Nexstar, which preempted ABC and took Kimmel off air, that they were doing this to appease FCC. And some people, based on Carr's quotes, believe that they directed he and Trump directed FCC and ABC to take him off air. So that's their perspective. And if that's true, that is an egregious move from the state because, according to the law, you have basically, there's a very narrow exception for when the government can intervene over what people say on network TV. And it is basically egregious misinformation that intentionally distorts the public.
Okay, so just for context, the quote. So right before Kimmel was pulled off air, FCC Chairman Carr said the following on a podcast. I believe he's on a podcast. Quote, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct and take actions on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead." So threatening the companies. And now it's worth noting ABC is broadcast. It's not cable. So it's not on private. It's on the public airwaves.
Right.
To be on the public airwaves, you have to operate with government consent. So Trump has been saying this since he took office, even before he took office, that he was going to apply more pressure on these broadcast companies. He did it with 60 Minutes, the way they edited the Kamala Harris interview last fall. He's repeatedly made these threats. The government would not just sit idly by while these stations say things he doesn't like, given that they are on government or public airwaves. So President Truth Social has praised ABC's decision, calling it, quote, "great news for America." He called Kimmel's show, quote, "ratings challenge."
He always goes back to ratings.
Well, but this is an interesting thing too. I mean, you've written about this before.
Yes.
The late night shows are in disarray. I mean, their views are terrible, and I believe Kimmel, more than even some others, has been suffering in the views.
Oh yes, he trailed both Fallon and Colbert in ratings, was losing money. I haven't seen a total report, but my recollection from doing that deep dive on Colbert was he was losing significant amount of money for ABC. He's highly paid. His staff is highly paid. He has something, I think Colbert had something like 200 people on staff this show. Kimmel's, I don't believe, was as high, but I mean, we're talking about massive operations, comparing that to, say, Joe Rogan, who I believe on the entire team has something like 4 people. His producer, Jamie, an editor, and then someone who handles business and operations, as far as I understand from people who are close to the show that we've talked to, who've been on the show. And so basically that's a tiny operation. Now you have someone who gets fewer views and they have just this enormous operation. And some people are basically making the argument that, hold on, let's pump the brakes on this being state-sanctioned First Amendment violation. They're saying that Kimmel has essentially been dead weight for a long time. ABC's been looking to shed him. They're aware that the model's not working. And so what they have been aiming to do is to get rid of him. And then this quote in the wake of the Charlie Kirk death, which upset, tens of millions of Americans deeply, 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 that this quote, falsely claiming that Tyler Robinson was one of MAGA, has pushed him over the line. And we've gotten some people, surprising people, who've defended ABC. Billy, if you want to go to the Stephen A. Smith quote, it should be the 3rd or 4th. There we go. This is Stephen A. Smith, who we should note does work for ABC as an ESPN host, but this is on Sirius XM. So here's Stephen A. Smith.
Pertains to Jimmy Kimmel was the only thing that I would say as it pertains to Jimmy Kimmel was where was the joke? Because you're a late night host, and obviously that has a comedic attachment to it. Where was the joke? Obviously, it wasn't anything funny about that. The only thing that
So that's that. Do we want to look at Piers Morgan's quote too? This is also an interesting perspective because I didn't know how he'd come down on it. Frost, you want to read this one?
Yeah, so this is Piers Morgan. Quote, Jimmy Kimmel lied about Charlie Kirk's assassin being MAGA. This caused understandable outrage all over America, prompted TV station owners to say they wouldn't air him, and he's now been suspended by his employers. Why is he being heralded as some kind of free speech martyr? What do you make of that take?
I think it's super interesting. I want to introduce one more take from an organization that we deeply respect that would kind of counter it. And that would be from FIRE. Now, we actually have interviewed the president of FIRE, Greg Lukianoff, and I will give him credit. Their base was center-right because of Greg Lukianoff's book, Coddling of the American Mind, which went after basically woke students, calling for safe spaces and cancel culture, et cetera, and they still rail on how students on campus want violence to target speech they consider hateful, all that. But now look at this. They're saying that, okay, here's their quote. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr is once again abusing his position to try to assert government control over public discourses, spuriously invoking the public interest standard, yada, yada. And if you scroll down to the reply, they give some breaking insight. Here we go. The government pressured ABC and ABC caved. The timing of ABC's decision on the heels of the FCC chairman's pledge to the network to do the easy thing or the easy way or hard way tells the whole story. So they're basically saying, wow, another example, like with Colbert and CBS, of the government pressuring a company to do something, and specifically a company that's going to need something from the government. For CBS, that was its owner, Paramount, needing approval for Skydance merger. And then for this example, it's Nexstar needing approval for its Tegna acquisition. So that's the FIRE's perspective. So I'm going to kick it back to you now, Frost. What do you think of all this?
I mean, I totally oppose using the government's power to push anyone to say one thing or another. I do think that it's not exactly like, I think there's a bit of a double standard here.
Yeah.
And we all know what it was like being on social media during COVID and running a news organization, and the government was pressuring news companies to censor us. Now, do you think that, I'm sure FIRE probably commented on that, but do you think that any of the do you think NBC Nightly News, ABC News, CBS News talked about that at all? No, because they were all aligned with the Biden administration. So now you have it where you have a president who is hostile to them. If they were, say you had Tucker hosting CBS News or one of the broadcast nightly news things, Biden would not have just let that go. I firmly believe. I think it's a bigger issue. That I think it's egregious that the current government is using its power to go after. I also think that this is a symptom of a bigger issue that started under the last administration, and probably even under Trump before that, and probably even under Biden, under Obama before that, of using federal power to coerce what people say and think.
Well, we don't even have to use you're exactly right. If Tucker were on network TV, it would have been a whole another matter. But even on cable TV, we have some reactions to how Jimmy Kimmel and Chris Hayes at MSNBC reacted. So that'll be the first X tab there. Bill, if you want to click on that one. This is Jimmy Kimmel after Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox.
Has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means. Tucker couldn't be reached for comment. He's already on a plane to Moscow to meet with his manager. But what a shock. I mean, what an absolutely delightful shock this is. Now
So
Tucker
stupid.
can spend more
So
time
stupid.
at home tanning his testicles and touching himself to that sexy green M&M. Sadly, he's probably not done poisoning old people's brains. The question now is, where will he do it next? Will he go to OAN? Will he go to Newsmax? Will he crawl back up Satan's fiery beehole from whence he came? We don't know. One of the most despicable mother Tuckers ever to appear on American television.
Okay, A, it's just not funny. B, how is he an idiot? I mean,
Yeah.
he must be an idiot, because obviously everyone knew Tucker wasn't just going to take that and go sit down. And what did he do? Tucker came out and became vastly more influential, vastly more strident in his views. I mean, that just strikes me a horrible take.
I find the take, for me, that makes the most sense is that, one, this was the best case scenario for Jimmy Kimmel, because ABC has been looking to dump him, presumably based on his ratings and also what he's done to sort of pollute their brand. And Bob Iger, since returning to Disney, has also signaled they want to become politically more moderate, generally speaking. I mean, even hiring Pat McAfee, making him a center of ESPN, allowing Stephen A. Smith to wade more into political waters where he's upset the woke crowd at various times. So, like, they're willing to move. Bob Iger, which owns ABC News, owns ABC, they're willing to, like, upset people on the left. And so they've been looking presumably to shed him, but now Jimmy Kimmel might have a similar effect that Tucker had, where he's going to go independent and probably make a fortune, although who knows if he'll be able to keep that audience. But listen, I have, the government pressuring ABC or Nexstar to do this is bad. Undeniable, in my opinion. I mean, there was a recent Supreme Court case on the subject. The government cannot direct private companies, especially public media ones, on speech. They just can't do that. I also do despise what has become of late night TV, where Jimmy Kimmel's supposed to, like the era of Jay Leno, David Letterman, and Johnny Carson, obviously before them, where late night hosts should be a reprieve from politics. They shouldn't just supercharge it even more. They should be entertainers, comedians who people in Ohio and people in New York can go sit on their couches after a long day of work and get some nice, fun, enjoyable humor. Instead, it's become political lecturing night after night, him getting up and saying inflammatory things. And by the way, he's worked with the government before. There was that report in 2017 where he worked with Chuck Schumer to his staff to frame his healthcare argument. Jimmy Kimmel has repeatedly waded into waters. He said that he knows he's lost a ton of his audience, like half his audience, for all of his Trump stuff. Like, Jimmy Kimmel recently got his Italian citizenship. Like, he is openly a partisan guy. And that's a shame to me. And he has nobody to blame but himself when it comes to making him vulnerable to this.
Making him vulnerable, but we're both aligned on.
Yes. The FCC shouldn't have done. Well, just one more point, too. Before, I think this is bad, undeniably. I mean, we're people who, from the very founding of Roca, prioritize free speech and hate when the government wades into that, whether that's on the right with issues in terms of COVID, the government, the Biden White House directing Facebook to remove people from its platform and YouTube to do the same. Hate that and hate this if the FCC pressuring ABC to get rid of them. With that said, everyone who's encouraging this hysteria, from Democratic members of Congress to people in the media, that we now live in the third world or that there's no freedom of speech, look at cable news, look at network news. Everyone, David Muir, the host of ABC News, most watched show on TV, for news show on TV, he's openly liberal. You've cable, every talk show host still, Seth Meyers, extremely liberal and partisan. Everyone, MSNBC, CNN, like there's no shortage. The views on ABC still. Like, I just think everyone who's saying you can't even make a joke anymore, the entire existence of The View is a joke at Trump's expense. So I just think everyone who's also, I think you can both say this is bad without going insane into thinking free speech is dead, no longer have it. It's absurd. I mean, you scroll through TV and you tell me if you're allowed to criticize Trump, because that's what I see on almost every channel. So I just think the hysteria has to end too.
Totally agree. And right now, I'm sending something to Billy. We could try out a new bit here, and it's fair take or not.
Ooh.
And we're gonna put a take up on the screen here.
Do you have the link to this original tweet for us?
I don't. Someone put it on their Instagram, and I just screen grabbed it. The thing I don't get about these people, like, you're the nightly news, you're the nightly comedic talk show host on ABC, and you're going purely for the left.
I know.
It's just dumb.
It's so
feel
dumb.
From an audience perspective, why would you do that? It's not like you're trying to corner a section of the algorithm. You are on ABC News, a network that most people get it. Mostly older Americans now that even have like the shit hooked up to their TV.
Totally.
But it's not like that audience necessarily skews left at all. It doesn't make any sense. And the thing about Colbert, Colbert, obviously people on the right always say the go woke, go broke thing. But Colbert, I just don't get it. I don't get why you would cut yourself off from half of the market.
And I just want to make a quick point here that a little bit of this feels kind of like whataboutism. And, as in, it's whataboutism that the right is coming out and saying, well, it's bad this happened to Kimmel, but Biden did X, Y, and Z. Wouldn't the best way to kind of end this cycle of censoring be just to come out ubiquitously on the right and say, it's over, like, this can't happen, we're done, like, let people speak?
Dude, I 100% agree. I think that anyone who believes speech can be risky and that we should have a wide Overton window of acceptable views, I think that they should all come out against this. I totally agree. I guess the whataboutism only just basically says that if you're going to call this a uniquely Republican threat, that's not true. So if some people are saying this is like a uniquely Trump thing, that's not true. So I think it only works as a rebuttal to that. But generally, I think the first instinct should be to disavow it if this is true. And it certainly does seem so. So Frost, all right, what does this take?
Okay, so I'll read this out loud and then we can discuss. This is from this Twitter user, don't know who it is, Dorigo Melanie, or whatever. Trump's allies now control X, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and TikTok. They own Fox News, CBS, WAPO, WSJ, and New York Post. They own Sinclair Broadcasting, which has 200 TV stations and local news in 100 markets. Freedom of speech is now what Trump and his billionaire pals say it is.
I think, and the question here is, how much truth does this have?
Yeah, is this a valid take?
I think it's an interesting take. I think it's largely valid. I think that it certainly is true that we are in a different world than we were, say, 8 years ago, where every tech platform from Facebook, it's funny that they now call Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp like a Republican-owned platform.
Well,
the political giving is still Democratic at the executive level.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, like, so they're saying Zuck and Jeff Bezos are Trump allies. They're the allies of whoever's in power.
Yeah.
So, like, if you wrote this a year ago, you would have said Biden allies. I mean, the only one, and then you have the right-wing, media, Rupert Murdoch, Media World, and who owns CBS?
Now Paramount, so David Ellison.
David Ellison, yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of those things. It's like a lot of sports talking heads where, like, once they list the thing, they'll be like, Nick Wright does this on Fox Sports. He'll be like, Michael Jordan is inferior to LeBron in assists. He's inferior to LeBron in his assist rating. They'll give like a list of 20 statistics, and a lot of them assist to turnover ratio, WAR value, and it sounds like super intimidating at first, but when you break it down, there's more nuance. Now, with that said, it is an interesting take that with Larry Ellison moving in on TikTok with his son, taking over CBS, we are in a different news landscape than we were 8 years ago. It's a little more even. I would still say look at the list if you broaden it out. I would not give them Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp.
No.
The executives overwhelmingly vote Democrat. You can look at the Democratic donor info from various big tech sources. That's available online. Check it out. So I would not say with one fell swoop those are all right-leaning. And then if you look at the list that's not, you would say the New York Times, the LA Times, CNN,
I mean, I just gotta,
MSNBC, Google.
But like Washington Post is not a conservative news outlet.
No,
I mean
it's not.
That's such an L take. Washington Post is just blatantly liberal. I mean, Jeff Bezos didn't endorse Kamala Harris. Okay, everything else they've done.
And he didn't endorse Trump.
Didn't endorse Trump. Everything else has been left wing. At the Journal, yes, it is owned by Rupert Murdoch, but the journalists at the Wall Street Journal, I mean, there's nothing in the Journal that's pro-Trump. I mean, the opinion page is conservative, but they hate Trump.
Yeah.
And then the journalists are not Trump people either. The journalists there are it's the same as the New York Times. I mean, they're liberal, so it's just not.
It's definitely a vibe shift from where we were in college, where, again, the media in big tech you took for granted as sort of a away turf for conservatives. It was like playing on the road constantly for conservatives. But now I do think it's changed some. I mean, listen, I think that Elon Musk at X, that's undeniable. Elon Musk controls the biggest news platform in the world. And the slop you see at the top of your feeds, whether it's racist, whether it's fight clips, whether it's whatever else, that, and everyone's going to be like, well, you get what the algorithm knows what you want. I've started new accounts for different pages we've had, and like that, it starts there. And also when you click on trending topics, they no longer basically do the big brother, like, let's suppress stuff. And I think what we've learned is when you have like hundreds of millions of people on a platform, and it's all engagement based, well, guess what? People are going to engage with the craziest shit, and that's going to get views, that's going to get clicks, it's going to get rage comments. So the algorithm has rewarded this, and Elon Musk himself, the most followed person on the account who promotes his stuff all the time, like he is I mean, just over what he's like far right in terms of a lot of his views with the way he talks about Europe and free speech and everything. So yeah, I would not give this the highest truth rating on planet Earth, personally speaking.
Okay, so this take, can we agree it is invalid?
I would say invalid. What would you get? But I don't think it's an F either. I would say like a C minus, maybe D plus.
D plus.
D plus. Yeah.
D plus.
Yeah.
D plus.
It's also like what if you did now again like Google, Apple, Microsoft, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, LA Times. And by the way, is TikTok even controlled by Trump? I mean, yeah, the Ellison stake, but I don't think you're going to go there, and it's not going to be, look like Turning Point USA on every scroll. Like, that's where a lot of the craziest stuff happens. So, all right, Frost, you know what? Does anyone have anything else to say on Kimmel, or should we do a little trivia?
I'm ready to move on. Billy?
I have one thing I'd like to ask you guys, actually.
Never.
When the news cycle's got you down, I mean, all we talk about is, well, most of what we talk about, unfortunately, is kind of negative content. How do you like keep up with all this stuff? I mean, for your own personal mental health, like, what do you do?
Well, I'll tell you what. I sometimes think I need someone to talk to. I sometimes think it can be overwhelming. I feel like I don't have to face it all alone, is the truth. And the beautiful thing is we have a partnership that now helps us with this. It's BetterHelp. BetterHelp gets, by the way, a 4.9 out of 5 rating on its average session. That's 1.7 million reviews. This isn't like 10 reviews. And you might be like, oh, I don't want to go online for therapy. Well, it's cheaper than going to a therapist in person. It's easy to do. And it's FSA, HSA eligible. And you get your first 25% off your first month if you go to the link in the description of this episode. So, Frost, do you have anything to add? Does the news cycle get you down?
No, I mean, I think I like to talk about it. See, real talk. If you read this stuff and you spend too much time going down the rabbit hole and you get too deep in it, it does put you in a bad state of mind. Like the most helpful thing is to talk to other sane people about it, whether it's a friend or a therapist. I talked to you about it.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if that's helping. It seems like you've gotten worse, but
I'm being radicalized. People are going to watch the show and they're going to come back to these episodes a year later and they'll be like, wow, we see it happening in real time.
But seriously, I think that I now don't go on Twitter anymore on weekends, but you got to play offense. The phones are terrible. I've stopped. Well, that's a lie. I mean, I do sometimes. I try not to, but I will for sports stuff, and then you get sucked into culture war, and then it's a whole vortex. But BetterHelp, check it out in the description. We give you a discount for your first month. But seriously, if the news cycle gets you down, if anything gets you down, check it out. Try it out. See if it helps you. So. Should I better help?
It better help you.
It better help you.
All right.
Yes.
Let's do it. I'm excited for this.
All right.
Yeah,
we haven't done this in a while, and
new segment alert. New
segment alert. I'm going to ask you something I saw online the other day.
Oh God.
And it is a question that I think you are very well equipped to answer. I've got a couple trivia ones for you, but here's the first one. How many cities in America have a population of more than 1 million? This is within city limits. It's not metro area.
11.
How many cities? What?
11.
How did you get this?
I looked it up recently.
Dude, you ruined it.
It's been 10 for a while, but it recently hit 11.
Okay, that's such BS. Dude, this is going to sound like we're rigging it. That's incredible. Although I will say this. I wish I asked you this in like 4 weeks, because San Jose, where our friend Jensen Huang's Nvidia is based, they are at 997K according to Britannica. So they're on the precipice. All right, well, let me give you a question before we move on to the next one. Can you name the top 5 in order? Biggest cities in the U.S.?
New York, Chicago.
Whoop. Little trouble there.
Sorry, New York, L.A., Chicago. Excuse me on that. Houston.
Bingo.
Phoenix,
correct.
6, Philly.
6, Philly.
7.
You're not going to get it.
Dallas.
That's 9.
Say Baltimore.
Is that a joke?
Yeah.
7. San Diego.
8. So you got
San Diego's sleepy big.
We sleeping.
Is Austin 10?
No, it's 13, which I've seen different. That's
Yeah,
a
I thought it
weird
was
one to me, but
Okay.
same state though for 7.
Keep thinking Frost. That's
I
interesting.
already
content.
said Dallas, Houston, Austin. So it's a Texas, San Antonio.
Bingo. And then 10, I'm going to ask you to go to my home state, the greatest state in the country for that
Jacksonville?
one. Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, Jacksonville's a little bit of a...
The city is
it's
ginormous.
It's a city limits game.
The city
there.
limits
City
is
game.
so huge. All right, cool. That's that. Now I'm going to ask you a question.
Well, I've got one fun fact for you.
Ooh.
I learned this recently. I should have thought about this before. You know, Detroit, the population, obviously, of the city has gone down. The population of the metro area has continued to go up and up and up and up.
Really?
Yeah.
That kind of shocks me.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Very interesting. Okay, the next question I have for you is what countries have the most countries that border them on the planet? And I'm going to see if you can get the top 5 here, just because I respect your geography prowess so much. But what countries have the most countries that border them?
Russia.
Russia's tied for first with, do you have a guess just off the top of your head? How many countries border it?
Like 15.
14. Dude, you're
14.
crazy, bro. This dude is cracked.
Afghanistan?
Afghanistan does not border Russia.
No, he's a tied for
Or
first.
sorry. It's tied
Yeah,
for
15
first.
It's tied for first.
Democratic Republic of the Congo.
I would not have gotten that, but that's 4th. So you got 1 and 4, tie 1 and tie 3. Well, technically it's tied for 3rd, but it's tied for 4th. This ranking is dumb in the way it orders them.
Okay. China.
China's tied for 1st, 14, which surprised me. But then again, a lot would surprise me because I know not much about geography. I'm just in perpetual
You know
surprise.
more than you think.
All right, so you got 1,
3 and
2,
5.
and 4. Yeah, you need 3 and 5. And you should get these, if I may say, because
Brazil.
Brazil, you've been there for Roca twice. Brazil has 10, by the way. So
10.
China has 14, Russia has 14, Brazil has 10, Democratic Republic of the Congo has 9, and then there's another country that has 9, and a long list, or 6 that have 8. So it gets a little crowded here.
So there's one country that borders 9 countries
Yes.
left.
It is weird. Are you just like going continent by continent?
I'm kind of jumping around. I know there's some sleepers.
There are a couple
Like I think
sleepers.
Switzerland borders 8, or that might be 6 or 8. It borders a lot.
Yeah. I'm not seeing it in the 8 category, but it may be. Once you get to 7, there are a lot.
Billy, do you know?
Ukraine?
Nope. Also, Ukraine's not a country. Russia.
I mean, Crimea.
I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I don't. I don't know.
Okay,
Germany?
let me. Germany.
Bang!
Wow.
Germany
that
with
gonna be my
9.
guess.
France, Austria, Zambia, Turkey, Tanzania, Serbia, all at 8. Serbia at 8. That's insane. But yeah, so there you go. And then Frost, just because the first was kind of a dud, are you ready for one more? And I'll make this one a little easier. It's going to be what 2 states have the most states that border them? And then you get bonus points if you can name the 2 states after them. So what 2 states have the most states that border them in America? The United States of America. Alaska's at 0. Spoiler.
Hawaii. No. Iowa?
Nope.
Missouri?
Missouri is one of the 2 with 8. There's one other with 8 states that border it, which is crazy to think about. Are you from...
Nebraska?
Nope, because you're the only... I see.
1. What is it?
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
And then there are 2 with 7. I'll give you a hint. You were in one of them very recently.
New Mexico?
Eh.
New York?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. And then the other with 7 is, does anyone want to guess? Wait, how does this one have 7? Let me count. I literally have the answer in front of me and I'm still like, oh no, yeah, it's 7. No mistake here. It is a little further west.
Wyoming? Montana?
Close. That's
I
at
don't
6. It's Colorado.
Interesting.
So there you go. A little geography trivia, bringing it back, and very well done. I can't believe you got the 11 off the top of your head.
That's just I happened to look at the list recently. Yeah, that's what I do when I'm bored.
Yeah, just the population. Well, this was a really interesting show. I also cannot wait for the comments on this one because I think the Kimmel discourse has invited a lot of interesting perspectives. I think a lot of people agree it's bad. I think the degree to which it's bad, people disagree on. So I'm just fascinated to hear what people say in the comments about this.
Who is defending it? I mean, besides Trump, any major figures?
Dave Portnoy, Piers Morgan. I think a lot of people, and those are the center right or like center right people. I think a lot of people who just go, Jimmy Kimmel sucks. He stated a blatant lie, and private companies can do what they want. But I think there have been so many people on the right, especially, but some on the left too, who were always talking about accountability culture. Let private companies do what they want, which is how they always justified Twitter banning conservatives. They've kind of contradicted themselves, and then a lot of people on the right who are like, free speech, and then the government says, yo, cancel this Kimmel dude, and which we don't know they did it. And who knows, maybe Kimmel will be back on the air in a week, but still, he was suspended. So, yeah, not too many supporting it vociferously.
Well, if Kimmel ever wants some extra work, he can come do a segment on our show.
We'll look into it. I'd like to see some of his work. Not sure if he's camera shy, but well, this was a great show, right? Anyone agree? Anyone? Bueller?
You know what we should do tomorrow, Billy? We should put in a laugh track.
Yeah.
So you can press the button on the Roadcaster and we'll get the laugh track.
You know your humor's bad when your co-host says that. When you're like, we need the ability. We need studio noise.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the RocaNews Show. Hit that subscribe button. We forgot to tell you though right now. Hit that button. Harder.
Boom. Ooh.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
We're about to have the FCC call us. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening.